Egyptian tombs reveal an unexpected treasure. Archaeologists discovered small, wrinkled tubers carefully placed alongside gold and jewels. These were tiger nuts. Ancient Egyptians valued them as highly as precious metals. A single plant fed entire civilizations for over 6,000 years. Modern agriculture now classifies it as an aggressive weed. Farmers spend millions trying to eradicate it. This dramatic reversal hides a profound truth about food systems. The plant requires almost no water. It thrives in depleted soil where crops fail. Underground tubers store complete nutrition for months. Ancient texts describe it as divine food. Nomadic tribes carried dried tiger nuts across deserts. Warriors relied on them for sustained energy. Then, industrial agriculture arrived. The narrative changed completely. What was once sacred became despised. This transformation reveals how disconnected modern food production has become from resilience and true nutrition. Commercial agriculture demands uniformity. Tiger nuts defy this principle entirely. The plant spreads through underground networks. A single tuber produces hundreds of offspring. Rhizomes penetrate deep into soil layers. Mechanical harvesting cannot reach them all. This makes monoculture farming nearly impossible. Chemical herbicides prove largely ineffective. The tubers survive and regenerate. Cotton farmers face devastating losses when tiger nuts invade. Rice paddies become overrun within seasons. Agricultural extension services classify it as one of the world's worst weeds. But this classification ignores historical context. For 6 millennia, this exact characteristic represented survival insurance. Ancient farmers understood the value of resilient plants. They cultivated species that returned year after year without replanting. Tiger nuts embodied this wisdom perfectly. The same traits that frustrate modern farming once prevented famine. Nature designed an indestructible food source. Industrial agriculture sees only a problem. Modern superfoods cannot compete with tiger nut nutrition. Each small tuber contains resistant starch that feeds beneficial gut bacteria. This fiber type survives digestion intact. Microbiome populations thrive on it. Ancient populations maintained robust gut health without probiotics. Tiger nuts provided the mechanism naturally. The tubers contain more iron than red meat. Magnesium levels exceed most leafy greens. Potassium content rivals bananas. Yet no synthetic supplements are needed. The plant concentrates minerals from deep soil layers. Roots access nutrients beyond the reach of shallow annual crops. This explains why ancient civilizations prized them so highly. Energy density remains impressive even by modern standards. Dried tiger nuts contain 20 to 25% healthy fats. These oils remain stable for years without refrigeration. Nomadic cultures understood this property instinctively. A handful provided sustained calories during long journeys. Vitamin E content protects against oxidation. The complete nutritional profile challenges current agricultural priorities focused on yield over nutrient density. Traditional cultivation required minimal intervention. Farmers planted tubers in marginal land unsuitable for grain crops. Sandy soils with poor fertility worked perfectly. The plant established itself within one season. Underground networks expanded naturally without fertilization. Water requirements remained extremely low compared to modern crops. This made tiger nuts ideal for unpredictable climates. Ancient Mediterranean cultures grew them in areas receiving only sporadic rainfall. African societies cultivated them at the edges of deserts. The tubers stored water internally during dry periods. This biological mechanism enabled survival through prolonged droughts. Harvest timing proved flexible, unlike annual grains. Farmers could leave tubers underground for months. They remained viable and nutritious. When food became scarce, communities dug what they needed. The rest continued growing for future harvests. This represented true food security without industrial infrastructure. Permaculture principles recognize this pattern today. Perennial food crops that regenerate and spread create resilient systems. Tiger nuts embody these principles naturally. The decline began with colonial agriculture expansion. European powers imposed monoculture systems across conquered territories. Local food crops that didn't fit plantation models faced systematic elimination. Tiger nuts survived only in isolated regions where industrial farming never penetrated fully. Spanish Valencia province maintained continuous cultivation for horchata production. This sweet milk beverage preserved ancient processing knowledge. West African communities continued growing tiger nuts for traditional dishes. Everywhere else, the plant vanished from food culture within generations. Agricultural education institutions taught new farmers to destroy it on site. Extension bulletins classified it exclusively as a noxious weed. Seed companies never developed commercial varieties. No research funding went toward improving yields or developing efficient harvesting equipment. The crop became invisible to modern agriculture despite 6,000 years of human cultivation. This erasure represents profound loss of food system diversity. Crops that thrive without inputs threaten the agrochemical business model. Tiger nuts required no purchased fertilizers. They needed no irrigation infrastructure. Pesticides proved unnecessary. Such crops offer nothing to sell farmers except the initial tubers. Economic incentives drove the transformation from food to weed. Recognition proves essential for wild foraging. Tiger nuts grow as grass-like sedges with triangular stems. This distinctive shape differentiates them from true grasses immediately. Leaves emerge in 3 ranks, spiraling up the stem. Height reaches 30 to 50 centimeters in typical conditions. The plant produces small brown flower spikes during summer months, but the real treasure grows underground. Tubers form at the ends of thin rhizomes spreading horizontally through soil. Each tuber measures roughly 1 centimeter in diameter. The outer skin appears wrinkled and brown. Inside reveals creamy white flesh with a firm texture. Wild populations often grow along waterways and in disturbed areas. Moist soil edges provide ideal conditions. The plant tolerates both flooding and drought once established. This adaptability explains its success across diverse climates. Fresh tubers taste sweet and slightly nutty. The flavor intensifies when dried. Experienced foragers recognize the distinctive sedge growth pattern from a distance. Learning this identification opens access to abundant free food in unexpected places. Many agricultural areas harbor wild populations that farmers actively try to suppress. Harvesting requires simple tools and proper timing. Late autumn provides the optimal harvest window after the growing season ends. Tubers reach maximum size and sweetness. A garden fork or digging stick works perfectly for extraction. Push the tool deep into soil around the plant base. Lift carefully to avoid breaking rhizomes. Each plant yields dozens to hundreds of tubers depending on growing conditions. Rinse thoroughly to remove soil particles. Fresh tubers can be eaten immediately. The texture resembles crisp nuts despite being a root vegetable. For long-term storage, spread clean tubers in a single layer. Dry them in a warm, well-ventilated location. Full drying takes 1 to 2 weeks. Properly dried tubers become rock hard. They store for years without refrigeration. Ancient peoples relied on this preservation method. Rehydrate dried tubers by soaking overnight in clean water. They soften and can be ground into flour. This flour makes excellent baked goods with a naturally sweet flavor. Alternatively, blend soaked tubers with water to create tiger nut milk. Strain through cloth to remove fiber. The resulting beverage tastes rich and creamy. No additives needed. Growing tiger nuts requires minimal space and effort. Source tubers from specialty suppliers or ethnic markets selling them for horchata. Select firm specimens without signs of mold. Soak overnight before planting to improve germination. Choose a container at least 30 centimeters deep. Drainage holes are essential to prevent waterlogging. Fill with sandy soil or standard potting mix. Plant tubers 5 centimeters deep and 15 centimeters apart. Water lightly after planting. Keep soil slightly moist but never saturated. Shoots emerge within 2 to 3 weeks. The grass-like foliage grows rapidly in warm conditions. Full sun produces the best yields. Partial shade is tolerable. Feed sparingly if at all. Tiger nuts evolved to thrive in poor soil. Excess fertility produces more foliage but fewer tubers. This represents one of the few crops where neglect improves results. Allow the container to become somewhat root-bound. This triggers increased tuber production as the plant prepares for resource scarcity. Harvest begins 4 to 5 months after planting. Dump the entire container and sift through soil to collect all tubers. Save the largest ones for replanting next season. This creates a perpetual food source, requiring virtually no maintenance. Traditional medicine systems documented tiger nut benefits for millennia. Ancient Egyptian medical papyri prescribed them for digestive complaints. The high fiber content promotes healthy gut motility. Resistant starch feeds beneficial bacteria populations. This prebiotic effect supports immune function. Modern research confirms these traditional uses. Studies show improved blood sugar control when tiger nuts are consumed regularly. The fiber slows glucose absorption and prevents insulin spikes. This makes them valuable for managing metabolic disorders. Cardiovascular benefits emerge from the healthy fat profile. Tiger nuts contain predominantly oleic acid. This monounsaturated fat mirrors olive oil's composition. Regular consumption may improve cholesterol ratios. Ancient texts also reference fertility benefits. Some compounds in tiger nuts demonstrate mild aphrodisiac properties in animal studies. Historical use supports these claims across multiple cultures. The mineral content addresses common nutritional deficiencies. Iron supports healthy blood production. Magnesium regulates hundreds of enzymatic processes. Potassium maintains proper electrolyte balance. These benefits require no processing or extraction. The whole food provides complete nutrition naturally. This contrasts sharply with isolated supplements that lack synergistic cofactors. Small-scale production offers significant income opportunities. Tiger nuts command premium prices in health food markets. Organic dried tubers sell for $20 to $30 per kilogram. This exceeds the value of most conventional crops by weight. Processing into tiger nut milk or flour adds further value. The plant requires almost no inputs after initial establishment. This maximizes profit margins compared to chemical-dependent crops. Labor costs remain minimal except during harvest. One person can manage substantial production area. Urban farming initiatives could benefit enormously from tiger nut cultivation. The crop tolerates poor urban soils and limited water availability. Containers or raised beds work perfectly. Rooftop gardens prove ideal for this application. Food security improves when communities can produce nutrient-dense food locally. Tiger nuts store so well that preservation costs approach zero. No refrigeration or special facilities needed. Ancient economic models based on tiger nuts demonstrate remarkable stability. Cultures that relied on them weathered famines that devastated grain-dependent societies. Modern food system resilience would improve dramatically by reintegrating such crops. The current weed status represents massive wasted economic potential. Interest in tiger nuts is growing among regenerative agriculture practitioners. Permaculture designers recognize their value in polyculture systems. The deep roots improve soil structure without tillage. This benefits companion plants significantly. Nitrogen-fixing species pair well with tiger nuts in guilds. The dense foliage suppresses less desirable weeds naturally. This reduces maintenance requirements for the entire planting. Homesteaders seeking food independence are rediscovering tiger nuts. The crop aligns perfectly with self-sufficiency goals. One successful harvest provides planting stock and food for years. Online communities now share cultivation tips and processing techniques. Seed saving becomes effortless. Simply set aside tubers from each harvest. Genetic diversity can be maintained through trading with other growers. This grassroots revival occurs completely outside industrial agricultural systems. No corporations control access to tiger nuts. No patents restrict their cultivation. This makes them truly democratic food. Anyone with minimal resources can begin growing. The knowledge barrier remains low. Ancient cultivation methods work perfectly without modification. Modern tools are optional rather than essential. This accessibility represents radical food sovereignty. Climate change demands crops that thrive with minimal resources. Tiger nuts answer this need perfectly. Rising temperatures favor their growth in many regions. Drought tolerance becomes increasingly valuable as water scarcity intensifies. Soil degradation threatens conventional agriculture globally. Tiger nuts remediate poor soil while producing food. This dual function offers enormous potential. Food forests and agroforestry systems can incorporate them as understory crops. The perennial nature eliminates annual replanting labor and expense. Carbon sequestration improves when perennial roots remain undisturbed. This contributes to climate mitigation goals. Nutritional security matters as much as caloric production. Tiger nuts deliver concentrated nutrition without chemical inputs. They represent the opposite of Green Revolution agriculture. Instead of high-input, high-yield annuals, they offer low-input, nutrient-dense perennials. Ancient wisdom about such crops deserves serious reconsideration. 6,000 years of continuous human cultivation proves their viability. Modern science simply confirms what traditional knowledge already established. Reintegrating tiger nuts into food systems is not regression. It represents intelligent adaptation using proven crops suited to challenging conditions ahead. The choice between viewing them as weeds or superfoods will shape food security for coming generations.